I don't think I've ever commented on a video before on YouTube, so I'm going to do it this time. And here's a video I came across earlier today, and I wanted to show it to you. So here it is. This apparently is a very well-known YouTuber, a guy called Patrick Bet David. I understand he was born in Iran, and he's now an American citizen. And he's got this huge YouTube channel, Valuetainment, 6.91 million subscribers. Huge channel. Anyway, he's got this very provocative title of this YouTube video just put up a few days ago. Muslims want your churches. Dr. Taylor Marshall exposes Islam's expansion and global takeover. So this kind of headline is guaranteed to scare a lot of Americans. And it says underneath, Dr. Taylor Marshall, who, by the way, is a prominent traditional Roman Catholic, joins Patrick Bet David to warn about America's demographic decline and the rise of Islam in key US cities. He breaks down the impact of low birth rates, weak family structures, and calls for a cultural shift towards procreation, marriage, and faith-based patriotism. Faith-based, of course, is Christian-based. He wouldn't entertain any other kind of patriotism, I think. So I'm going to play this and comment through a lot of it.
Islam and Christianity today, okay? What do you foresee happening? We know the way they're going right now, 20, 30 years in America. They're going to be growing. You're seeing Mamdani in New York, who is a radical leftist. You can call him a progressive socialist, democratic socialist. But when you use certain phrases, we know out of Karl Marx, sees the means of production and capital. That's,
So he here characterizes Mamdani, who is to be the next New York mayor, apparently, as a Marxist, as a communist. He'll go on to talk about him in this way. I just want to stress that this guy, Mamdani, is a Muslim. You may not agree with everything he does as a Muslim, but he's a Muslim. And the Muslim has a very different worldview from the Marxist. A Marxist is a materialist. Marxists are atheists. They reject the existence of God. Marx called religion the opium of the people. Okay, this guy, this mayor, does not think that. He believes in ultimate values and truth and God. He believes in the last prophet sent to mankind, Muhammad, peace be upon him. He's a man motivated by faith. And because of his faith, he believes in social justice for all people. Now, for sure, he's left-wing socialist and he has socialist policies. But in his view, he has a way of dovetailing these together. But I would argue he's not a communist and Marxist at all. It's to misrepresent who he is.
Oh, you've seen Red Atlas Shrugged, or you've read Communist Manifesto. I've read both of the books. He's a communist. And you're seeing what's happening with him. Ilhan Omar, you're seeing Detroit, Dearborn, you're seeing in your area, Colleyville, not Colleyville, but Plano, where they're building the Epic Center that, the governor is trying to work ahead.
See, yeah, I mean, again, look at the fear-mongering. Oh, the Muslims, they're taking over. Well, I've been to East Plano Islamic Center, or the Epic Masjid, as it's known, in Dallas, Texas. I went there last year, met some amazing brothers. I went to the mosque there, and it's where Yasser Qadhi is based and many other scholars and imams. And these are good people. They're passionate about their faith. They're American citizens. They're helping the community. They believe in social justice. And yes, they're growing because it's a very successful model they have there. And that apparently they have permission now to build a kind of community as well, a faith-based community, and so on. And they got permission to do this. There's been some scaremongering about it, but now and challenges, legal challenges, but they haven't been successful. So these are American citizens expressing their constitutional right to have a faith. And this guy here is somehow demonizing them, seeing them as a threat. When has a person of faith who believes in one God and the faith of Abraham and Moses and Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all, when has this been a problem? It is not a problem. And so this is merely, as I say, scaremongering by this person.
Our system and our Constitution has left it open for them to be able to come and infiltrate if they want to.
Notice the word infiltrate there. They're infiltrating. No, these are American citizens who are practicing their faith as per the constitutional right to do so. But he's not seeing it like that. and he's distorting what's really happening. I said, I've been there. I've seen these people, and they're good at American citizens. Many of them are born in the US, and some are immigrants, but most are born there. And they're simply opening up places of worship and practicing good family values, community relations, and so on. So I don't recognize what he's talking about at all.
There's nothing about our Constitution that doesn't allow them to not be able to compete. And they're not going to slow down until...
It doesn't allow them to compete. They're not really competing, I would say. They are exercising their constitutional rights to practice their faith. It's not their fault if their faith is popular and growing and attracting people. People are Muslims because they are attracted to Islam, the purity of faith in one God. They don't believe in these other Christian varieties of faith, which unfortunately many believe have corrupted the original faith of Jesus.
So they get what they want. That's a form of competitiveness. If I believe in what I believe in, I'm going to come and take your market share, your members, your churches. I'm going to take, churches that you guys have converted into Muslims.
Convert it into Muslims. I think he meant convert it into mosques. Again, this is sheer fantasy, sheer paranoia. The Epic Masjid in Dallas is something that's been built as a mosque. Actually, it's not a converted church. I didn't see any converted churches in Texas when I was there. And if they're converted churches, it is because the Christians are not going to church as much anymore. Christianity is losing its grip on the American population. It's declining. Islam is growing. That's not Islam's fault. That is Christianity's problem. They need to get their act together and start attracting people to the faith again. So the idea that Muslims want your churches, which is in the headline there, is fake news. I have never, ever heard a Muslim talk like that. Muslims we don't have our eyes on people's churches. We have our eyes on building our own mosques or converting old buildings. We don't want Christian churches. That's simply a fake news.
How do you fight against that? And
how do you fight? Why do you want to fight people of faith? Yeah. Again, this kind of crusader language, this adversarial language based on nothing but prejudice, I would argue.
What do you foresee taking place in the future with this?
If things stay the same, we lose. I think that's obvious. Just look at the demographics. Just look at the curves. You can go on Grok or ChatGPT and say, Grok, draw for me a graph of the population rates and pick a country, and it'll draw it out, and you can see which year. That is going to happen, and we need to have a real come to Jesus meeting. Literally. Yeah.
Again, now they're switching the issue to demographics, which is a separate issue, actually. And here I think we have an anxiety, which is often expressed these days on social media, that the white man's anxiety about losing his dominance in society demographically, because white people are often not having babies or very few babies. They're not replacing the generations in the way they used to. So the population is shrinking. And this is the anxiety of losing the white man's status as dominant in the United States. Now, this has nothing to do with faith. This is an ethnic kind of issue, people wanting to keep their dominance, as I say. And so here we're conflating desire for white dominance with an anxiety about Christianity declining, with an anxiety about American Muslims being much more successful and having large families and not caring about dominance. They just want to have successful communities.
Literally, it's about interior conversion, but it's also about the external expression. And when you have abortion, contraception, you have feminism, America, sadly, is, I think, last I saw, it's either 1.6 or 1.7 TFR birth rate. That's horrible. We were holding strong for many years at 2.1, which is replacement.
That's right.
But, people, they get on X, they get on social media and they're complaining and the immigration. And I generally agree with them. But if we are not reproducing ourselves.
Yeah, it's interesting how when Americans complain about immigration, I don't understand what that means. Isn't America a nation of immigrants? I don't know of a single American who, apart from the so-called Native Americans who are indigenous to that land, it's only the Native Americans who actually have been there for millennia, thousands and thousands of years. White people are there as immigrants. That they were occupying another people's land, famously, of course. So his anxiety again is demographic, keeping that privileged status as the dominant ethnic group in society. And looking at Muslims as somehow as immigrants again, I come back to the point that the vast majority of Muslims are United States citizens. They're Americans. And yet he doesn't see them that way. He didn't seem to see them that way. He sees them as the other. So there's a lack of acceptance of basic social realities here.
Through conversions, but even just in the most basic way, which is through procreation, we are done for. We are done. I'm a cattle rancher.
We are done for. Who is the we here? Come back to this. The we here is the white man. We are done for. And maybe the other guy, what's his name? Patrick David, as the honorary white man, but he's not a Muslim, even though he came originally from a Muslim country, from Iran. So anxiety here is about our social group.
Sure. Yesterday I was out with a calf born and was working with the cattle. If my cows had a 1.6 TFR birth rate, I'd be out of business. I'd be depressed. What's wrong with the cows? What's in the water? Right. What are they eating? Are they poisoned? Are coyotes killing them? What's going on? Why are we at 1.6 per cow? Like you're out of business in 1 year. And yet we as a society are.
It's shocking, the analogy here of having children and likening them to cattle. Like cattle need to be reproduced, human beings need to reproduce. It's a shocking analogy comparing human beings and children to animals that way. But I understand what he's trying to say.
Are sitting here twiddling our thumbs, 1.6, and it's going down. And I think Muslims, I don't know what the recent is, but I think Muslims are around 3. It's not great, but it's definitely above replacement.
So notice the envy or the jealousy, the resentment, perhaps, behind a lot of what he's saying about Muslims having larger families. Muslims see families as blessings, as babies and children, as great blessings from God, and they're to be treasured and looked after, not to be compared to cattle on a ranch like he does. But also, although he understandably and rightly does complain about the prevalence of abortion and artificial contraception and so on, feminism and so on, but I would suggest to him that many of these issues are very prevalent in his own churches, like the Episcopalian Church, which is part of the Anglican Communion, promotes feminism and abortion and LGBT and so on. And even his own Catholic Church, which is officially against many of these things, the polls that I've seen, the vast majority of American Catholics support abortion, support contraception, support gay marriage and feminism. So the problem really is not the Muslims wanting your churches and Islam's expansion and global takeover, a pure fantasy. The problem is within his own backyard, in his own Christian churches. I'm not saying that's where it comes from, but it's affected them big time, even his own Catholic Church. You often hear church leaders speaking in favor of these things. So, the problem is not really Muslims, it's within his own backyard. He needs to focus on that.
Just run those numbers, run that concept. You're done. You're going to lose. You're going to be replaced. And so that's another.
You're going to be replaced. Come back to this point. The white man's going to be replaced. It's a racial, ethnic anxiety. Because the people he's anxious about are also Americans. Why does he care if some American groups are more successful than other American groups? Because it's a question of the ethnic dominance of the white man. This is what is really about.
It's a chapter in the book, in having a real conversation of what is marriage, what is family, why do we have children, what is the purpose of matrimony, how do we raise our children, and are we truly open to being above replacement level?
I just find it fascinating. In a country, the United States, that's been predominantly solidly Christian for centuries now, still these basic questions: what is the family? Why have children? What about marriage? These basic questions still need to be addressed. And I'm thinking, wow, even in a country with such a rich Christian heritage, you still don't know the answers to this. And I come back to the point, is many in the Christian churches who support precisely the opposite of what he's advocating.
That's a conversation. I don't think the Overton window has moved that far yet, but we need to get the Overton window moved. I mean, that's part of the reason why it's one of the chapters in the book, is we need to have real conversations. Thank God you have 4. You're doing great. I got 8. We need people to start thinking about what is our duty to our patria. That's Latin, our fatherland. That's why I use patriot. Patriot is a virtue.
See, again, it's coming back now to Christian nationalism, and it is quite open about that. Christian Patriot, the book there you can see on the left. So Christian nationalism again, white Christian nationalism is on the defensive. He needs to be reinvigorated, reinforced.
Of devotion to the patria, and patria is Latin for fatherland. It has to do with honor your father and mother. What is your duty to humanity? Duty to God is first. Duty to humanity is, and all these young people, they don't want to get married, and there's a lot of good reasons for that. The way marriage laws and divorce and the way our economy is, there's a lot of reasons why young people aren't having marriages, family, children.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to leave it there actually, because I have seen the rest of the video, and it's just going on about the same kind of demographic issues, really, about marriage and procreation. Yeah, that's all fine. So, the headline, the scare headline here: Muslims want your churches, Islam's expansion and global takeover. It is mostly not in what's been discussed. It is a little bit of a global takeover. I think a lot of lot of envy here. And what we're looking at really is a country that is going through profound change, for sure. Some groups are very uneasy about it. White Christian nationalists are very uneasy about it. But they must remember, in the long historical perspective, the white Christians that came to what became the United States were occupiers. They took over other people's land, like a certain group is doing in Palestine at the moment. That would not be permitted under international law today. It would be seen as, a very kind of brutal colonialism and killing of the indigenous peoples. This was the foundation of much of what became the United States. And although people today aren't responsible for that, but this dominance that was acquired through this invasion and expansion into the new world, this dominance is being lost because other people now are coming to the United States legally as citizens, and like I saw in Texas, and the old guard are very resentful of this, and they're losing their privileges, their dominance. And this is not much to do with Christianity, really, or even morality. It's to do with power and jealousy and resentment against other people. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, the language of this video and the lack of understanding of other people is disturbing and is disappointing. The two interesting characters who often talk on social media, and they just haven't got the point, really. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think, and maybe I'll do another commentary like this again.